What's up, guys? Me and Larson are back. If you haven't already, go check out our latest win total projections. We did the SEC, we did the Big Ten, we did the Pac-12. We gave the Pac-12 a nice send-off. So as we've talked about, if you've been watching these, our ACC video was unfortunately destroyed by no fault of anybody present. And we still have the Big 12 less to do, and we still have some G5 picks to do. But week 0 kind of snuck up on us. We got some locks to do. So we're not going to go through every team, but we're just going to go through who we have picks for, which is fine because I know a lot of the times we just talk about the team and say, I don't know, good number, we'll stay away. We're just going to kind of go over the big ones. We're going to go over what picks we have, and we'll wrap it up and get into week 0. We got week 0 locks. We're recording those later tonight. That'll be fun.
Yeah, exciting times. Like you said, the week has definitely snuck up on us for sure. So we're going to be good, though. Let's get into some Big 12. I admittedly do not have many Big 12 plays. I know you have a few, but as we run over just kind of the teams that you need to know about, Texas is the favorite. Texas is even money to win the conference. They're at, I think, 9.5 wins. Like everyone who's a college football fan knows the questions about Texas, about, are they back? Is this the year? Everything like that. They've got a great roster. It makes sense that they're even money to win the conference, which I think is a great bet. Oklahoma's plus 350. They're second. K-State is plus 500. They're third. Then you get to Texas Tech 10-1, TCU 16-1, which is pretty similar price to, I guess, what we got them at last year. And then Baylor, Kansas, UCF, it kind of goes down from there. Those are the big boys. There are some teams with a lot of hype. There are the 4 new teams that are supposed to be pretty bad by the looks of it. I don't have any strong leans on win total, either way on any of these. So I'll let you start. What's one that caught your eye?
Well, I'll start off by saying we can talk about Texas since they are the overwhelming favorites to win this conference. I do think Texas will go over. I could see them going like 11-1. I do think this is the year to finally stop fading Texas. Unfortunately, we've had a fun ride, but my big darling this year. So I brought this up on Twitter. 2021, you have the Baylor Bears, who will go from 2-10 to winning the Big 12. TCU have a team that is predicted 6th, 8th. We had them last year. If you watch this,
they were probably 6th or 7th, I think, at least.
Yeah, we were on TCU last year. We said they were probably your best long shot value, and I don't think we ever would have predicted something like what happened. But we were on TCU, and we had a lot of faith in them. And this year I'm going Texas Tech. I love Joey McGuire. The only real gripe I have with them is their schedule is kind of brutal. They travel to Wyoming week 1, which is not going to be an easy game. And we'll really see what they're made of week 2 because they host Oregon. But after that, if they can handle that, I mean, their toughest game left, they go to Baylor and they go to Texas. And, I think 10-2 is within the realm of possibility for them.
Yeah, that's a good one. I want to say it's kind of a popular one. It's at least a team that people in college football circles like to have a big year. They lost a few guys offensively, but they have a lot of transfers, and the offense in classic Texas Tech fashion should score a lot of points. They're going to go for it on 4th down a lot. It's just kind of
my main concern. They went 4-0 in games that went into overtime, or like they won a lot of close games last year.
Yeah,
and if that regresses to the mean, they could be 8-5 again, which is still pretty good for Texas Tech. Let's be honest. But their win totals at 7.5, and I think they can get back to 8, which of course 8 last year included a bowl win. But I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility to see an improvement out of them.
Yeah, they should be fun. I think we had them last year. They were catching, I think, 7 or 8 points at home against Texas, and they won that one in overtime. That was a nice one. Oklahoma's at 9.5. I don't think either of us have any strong feelings on them. I struggle to see how Oklahoma goes 10-2. I think a lot of people have said it, and I agree with it, that I think Oklahoma's more in the middle of the conference. They're more Texas Tech, TCU, Baylor than they are Texas, for sure. So I struggle to see them winning 10 games. Again, it's not something I'm going to bet. I think Venables is a good guy that can turn it around, but I'm surprised by that one in terms of a win total. Yeah. Towards the bottom of the conference, West Virginia, 150.
I feel pretty strongly. Yeah, I feel
to win
pretty
the conference. So go off on the Mountaineers.
You think so? I'm on the opposite. I'm riding the complete opposite train.
No, I said go off on the Mountaineers. I said I know you got a strong feeling.
Oh, I thought you said plus 1,500 to take them to win the conference. I was like, buddy. I mean, you kind of sprung this one on me. So here's the situation with West Virginia: is their out of conference schedule is absolutely brutal. and their Big 12 schedule is not exactly what I'd call favorable either. So they open up at Penn State, and then they get Duquesne at home. So they'll get a win. They'll be 1-1, and then boy, I don't know when this next win is going to come. They got to host Pittsburgh, who I think is going to beat them. They host Texas Tech. They got to go to TCU. They got to go to Houston, which I think that's a good opportunity for Houston to get their first Big 12 win. Host Oklahoma State. They got to go to UCF, and then I think that might be their next win as they get Brigham Young at home. And then they go to Oklahoma. They host Cincinnati, which is another winnable game. And then they go to Baylor. At 5 wins, I don't see 5 wins on that schedule. I'm sorry. Even if you beat up on all 4 of those teams of the new guys and you beat Duquesne, that's still 5. And that's a push.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at kind of these projected spreads and what games does it look like they'll be favored in. It says they have them projected like -9 at home to Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh's probably better than that. Like I would be surprised.
I do too.
If we get a Pittsburgh +9 against West Virginia, we have to pull the trigger, I think. So, yeah, not a lot of wins on that schedule at all. I think West Virginia, it's undoubtedly do or die time for Neil Brown. A lot of people not like.
I think he could be the first coach fired, and I think if he's the first coach fired, this team might lay down, and that's kind of another thing that I'm taking into account here because they don't like losing to Pittsburgh. Penn State's going to mollywop them. That's one of my favorite picks from week 1. We'll do that when we have our week 1 picks. I think Penn State is going to absolutely drag them up and down the field. So I just don't have a lot of hope. I love West Virginia too. I think their program's super cool. Like I think they're so unique. I've loved them since like the Pat White, Steve Slayton days. Like I just don't see it this year though. I think
they were people forget that they were I guess it was 2007 28-point favorite at home. If they win the game, they go to the national championship, and they lost to Pitt. I mean, crazy stuff. They were kind of a powerhouse, and they've really fallen from grace, I guess you could say.
That was Rich. That was probably the beginning of the end for Rich Rod too, if we're being honest. That he doesn't take the Bama job, and then Saban goes to Bama, just big time domino effect.
We'll talk about Rich Rod too in the week 0 slate. I did not realize.
That's right. I keep forgetting about
he was
that.
there. Yeah, I was a little bit surprised by that. Yeah, you get Cincinnati, BYU, Houston, and UCF all kind of sitting around 4.5, 5.5 for win totals. UCF is 6.5. UCF undoubtedly has the brightest future, it looks like, in terms of this year and next year out of those 4 teams. I know Houston got decimated defensively. I'm not a huge fan of Holgorsen like anymore. I think he's kind of past his prime, and I don't know if this is really the best situation for him. BYU, lots of change to their roster too. Cincinnati just got Scott Satterfield, who I don't think is that good of a coach. Like I'm really surprised that he got that job.
I'm not super comfortable with it, but if I had to, I think Cincinnati under 5 is pretty solid. If you get it at 5.5, I would definitely take it. This is not a team that's going to make a bowl game. And
I mean, Emory Jones is their quarterback. Their secondary and their receivers got just absolutely decimated by the transfer portal. They lost their top 6 pass catchers, so not a great look. But UCF is at 6.5. A lot of people think that they could have a big year. They've got 2 new coordinators, but they still have kind of some talented pieces. You like them to go over, is that right?
Yeah, I'm on UCF. I got them over. I think their schedule's pretty favorable too. I think they're going to be the best out of these new teams for sure.
Yeah.
You look at their non-conference. They open up with Kent State. They go to Boise State and Villanova. I think they can handle all 3 of those.
I do too.
They go to Kansas State. They host Baylor, which is that's a bad spot for Baylor. I need to put that one in a reminder because UCF might be a home dog there. And I think they can rattle Baylor's cage. They go to Kansas, Kansas is a team that a lot of people think are going to regress this year. And then they go to Oklahoma. And at that point, yeah, maybe you have 4 wins if you can upset Baylor, or Kansas, one or the other. And then after that, you host West Virginia, you go to Cincinnati, you host Oklahoma State, to Texas Tech, and to Houston. I think you can get 6 out of there. I could see them getting – I honestly haven't projected at 8, but I'm a little bit higher on them than most, I think.
Well, I want to say – looking around to make the Big 12 championship game, UCF is plus 1,200. Not too bad of a price if you really think the ceiling is that high. A lot of people do. I could see it. Some good things happening. Yeah, I think that might be kind of it for the Big 12. Like I said, I don't have any plays there. I think it really is Texas's conference to lose. The only Big 12 pick I've made in any way in terms of a future is Texas at, I think, plus 110 to win the conference, which is, if you get plus money on Texas to win the Big 12, I think you should take it because I really feel like they're that head and shoulders above everybody else. Everyone's going to say, well, they're like this every year. Kind of. I
This is
mean,
a little different.
everyone's saying
This
this
is a
is the
little
best
different.
Texas team in a long time. I mean, in terms of talent on the roster. So no, they're not like this every year. But I get it. I get it. It is what it is.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. On to the ACC, which we have done before, but luckily we have some good picks in this conference.
We know
I
we
feel
know what we're
very
gonna
good.
say.
Yeah, I mean, I feel very good about the picks we have here, and we'll give a little bit of a rundown here. I think we have pretty much kind of the same three or four. We'll start, I guess, on the negative side. We'll start with Virginia because we have kind of the same bet basically. Their win totals at 3.5.
Yeah.
And so we both went under. You went under 3.5. I went under
Yeah.
2.5 conference wins. Basically, though, it's the same thing. It's a team that just got killed by the transfer portal. You lose your quarterback. They replace their quarterback with an FCS quarterback who, by the looks of it, is not ready at all for the job. So not great there. Your defense is not very good at all. You lose your 4 best defenders. I think Tony Elliott as a coach is kind of in way over his head here. He's probably just a walking dead man at this point. And then every game on the schedule is kind of a loss, except for James Madison and William and Mary. Like they didn't get any.
James Madison is by far. I do not think that's a guarantee. By the way, we need to mention that too. I don't think James Madison's a guarantee, which is another reason I like this so much.
Yeah, and so that was the reason for me taking the ACC wins under at 2.5. Was I don't want to mess around with the James Madison and William and Mary if they were to somehow go 2-0. There's just no chance that this team's winning 3 conference games. At North Carolina, at Miami, at Louisville, you're at Boston College, who we both think will be nice. 3 of your 4 hardest games are on the road, and all in the span of 4 weeks. It's just brutal in every possible way. I think 3 wins is probably the ceiling, the best case scenario for this team. So, yeah, that's an under for us on Virginia for sure. At the top of the conference, I guess in terms of alphabetical order, Boston College at 5.5. They lose Phil Dracovic, who was there for like 6 years, I think it felt like. So they're replacing him with a guy who is really not that bad, and a guy who came in last year and actually did some good work for them when Dracovic was injured. They lost Zay Flowers to the NFL, who I think is going to get people are going to look at that, but brought in a transfer wide receiver from UCF who's very similar to him. I think can fill a lot of the shoes basically that he left. And the offensive line last year, which was the big worry, is now a strength for them. Improved massively. They've got good running backs, and the defense is usually pretty solid there. They return a lot of guys. So 5.5, I went over. I don't think the schedule's that bad. They don't play Clemson or North Carolina. And you get Florida State in week 3, right before Florida State goes to Clemson. A little bit of a trap spot, but we both like Boston College, I think, for pretty much the same reasons.
Yeah, I don't think their schedule's too brutal by any means. I think I have them at 6-6, but I feel confident about that 6-6. Like I point at their wins and I point at their losses, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I think you can definitely win these 6 games, and I also think you're definitely going to lose these 6 games.
Yeah, it really is a strong 6-6. Northern Illinois, Holy Cross, Virginia, Georgia Tech, UConn, Syracuse, Virginia Tech. Those are just games that they go to Army. They're going to win that game. Like it's a lot.
They get Miami at home late, and let's say if Miami's had another disappointing season, who's to say Miami doesn't go up there and lay down and they get a win up there?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think Boston College. I like Boston College a lot. I think they're going to have a big year. Big years for Clemson also. I think we agree on that one. They're at 9.5. This is kind of a simple one just because they're going to be favored in every game. You play 12 games, you're favored to kind of go around 11 or 12 wins. And so 9.5, I think, is a very good number. This is just people last year remembering all the questions they had on offense and how it was kind of fun to make fun of Clemson last year. I guess we both think that Klubnik's the real deal. Like he's going to change a lot. You bring in Garrett Riley. I think that changes a lot of things. And I really like them. Like I like them against Florida State. I trust this team enough as a program. I don't like Dabo that much, but in terms of a coach, he knows how to win games, especially in the conference. And if you just looked at this team, did like a blind resume, right? You didn't see the logo. You just said this is a team that has won championships recently. They're always at the top of their conference. They're always contending. Their defense is going to be elite. They've got a great quarterback. At least we think he's a great quarterback based on how we saw last year. You would say they're favored in all their games, you'd say, oh, this team's going to win 11 or 12 games. And then you see it's Clemson and people kind of get down on themselves. But I think Clemson is winning the conference, probably going to the playoff.
Yeah, and it's another thing, too. If you look, okay, so their two toughest games, as you said, are at home. Florida State and Notre Dame, both at home. And even if they drop both of those two, you're pushing on this because I got them at 10 even. So I think this is a great pick. You know, you look at their road schedule, they go to Duke, to Syracuse, to Miami, to NC State, which is a tough game, and to South Carolina. I think they can handle all those teams. I don't think they're going to lose to South Carolina 2 years in a row.
No.
Like this isn't some murderer's row. This is still Clemson. They still own this conference. And like I said, even if they drop their two toughest games and they go 10-2, this hits. So I'm happy about that.
Yeah, and then on the flip side, Florida State is also around 9.5. We ended up staying away, pretty sure, just because of the possibility of like you losing to LSU and Clemson, and then having to win out. I'm not going to trust a team yet that hasn't been there. They're still trying to get there. They're going to be good. This is a very good team, obviously the best team they've had in a long time. I want to see them have a great year first before I start doing that.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. Was there one more we had, or was that the last one?
Yeah, there was. Let's see.
Oh, it was Louisville.
Louisville.
This is one of our favorite picks too.
Yeah, they're sitting around like 8 or 8.5 right now. They were 7.5, which is where I got them. But I think Louisville.
I think I got them at 8, so I was right.
A nice year. They're going to win 8 games. This is an 8-win team. Sounds weird because I think they've been kind of down recently. But this is, Jeff Brom comes in as the coach, who not really a big fan of, but he's got his quarterback Jake Plummer, who was with him at Purdue for a time. They return a ton of guys on an offense that scored a lot of points last year. And the defense, which was the weakness, improved a lot towards the end of last season. Everything in spring sounds like they had a really good kind of defensive spring. So they brought in some good transfers too. I'm going to trust kind of that foundation. The schedule is the best part. The schedule's one of the easiest Power 5 schedules in the country.
Yeah, this is kind of a tale of two seasons for me here. You look at the first 4 games. They go to Georgia Tech. They host Murray State. They go to Indiana. I think those are 3 easy wins. They shouldn't even break a sweat in those games. Then they host Boston College. We talked about we're high on Boston College, but they still got to go to Louisville. I think they can handle them.
Yeah.
To NC State. Okay, let's say they lose that game. You're still 4-1. You're halfway there already, and we're in week 5. They host Notre Dame. And then they go to Pittsburgh. And let's say they lose all 3 of those games. Okay, you say, oh, we're at 4-3 going into the bye. All right, well, out of the bye, they host Duke, they host Virginia Tech, they host Virginia. They can win all 3 of those. All right, well, now we're at 7. And then you just got to beat one of Miami or Kentucky. And I think they can do that. I think 8 wins is definitely feasible for this group.
Yeah, it's another team that's favored too in a ton of games.
I think they're favored. I think they had favored in the most games out of like I saw a weird stat where it was like they're favored in the most games out of like any Power 5 team or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're probably going to be small underdogs at home. If they're going to be 5-0 playing Notre Dame, if Notre Dame's as good as we think they could be, they're probably going to be small underdogs to Notre Dame at home, which is fine. The back half of the schedule is very easy. Duke, Virginia Tech, Virginia are all wins. There's legitimately four losable games. If you lose all 4, you're 8-4. You're still going over. You're at least pushing in that case. So this is a team. They play the 4 worst teams in the conference too. It's a very good schedule. It's very favorable. So I really like Louisville in that one. I thought about like a North Carolina State at 6.5. Ended up staying.
I blew my NC State load last year. I'm done with them.
Yeah, I think I'm a little NC State out, but they do have the makings of a team that can win 7 or 8 games too. But those are the kind
I think a lot of teams in this conference too is the problem. Like Wake Forest, Miami, Pitt, Syracuse, Duke, all these teams I can see win 7 games.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about Miami. People think Miami could be really good. I'm a little standoffish, but yeah, there's a lot of question marks on the team. Overall, I think Clemson wins the conference, and I would not be surprised. I bet Louisville to win the conference just because if they make the conference championship, it's a great hedge. I think that they're going to be that good. So, those are the 4 ACC picks. Let's attack the group
G5.
Of 5 because
these are the fun ones.
Some juicy win totals here. I don't even know how many you have. I want to say 4.
I think I have 4. Let's start with the Boise State Broncos because I know we both have them.
Yes, we can give that. I'll just say I think Boise State. It's a team coming in now. They have a new quarterback, a guy who wants to do a lot of dual threat stuff. Is mainly a dual threat quarterback. Then your coach comes in and he says, We don't really want to run a ton of dual threat. We actually want to try to keep them in the pocket a little bit, which sounds like it makes no sense, and it doesn't make any sense. But this is legitimately the thought process of their offense. I think it's going to be a down year for them. They lose a lot of important pieces. I have another team in the conference too that I think is going to take a major leap, which kind of adds to it. And I don't know what you got their win total at. I got it at 8.5. I want to say it was moving down at the under 8.5.
Yeah, I got it at 8.5 as well.
I think that's probably a good pick. I don't have their schedule pulled up. I'm
9 games a lot too about a team that just doesn't feel like they have a lot of like energy around the program, or like
no,
we don't hear them in top 25 discussions. 9 wins is a lot of games. I haven't looked at their schedule, but I assume it's not a cakewalk because I remember they play somebody that I have picked before, and I'm pretty sure.
So they play Washington and they play UCF the first 2 weeks.
That's right.
Which I think is a real chance at being.
And they play Memphis, who is another team that we are very high on.
Memphis, I'll mention in a minute. I think will be good.
There's 3 losses right there.
San Jose State's a good team in the conference. Colorado State's going to take a major leap. Wyoming, mention them in a minute. I love Wyoming. Fresno State, you go to Fresno State.
They go to San Diego State as well.
It's not right. It's not, and they play Air Force too. I mean, especially if you start 0-2, I don't think they're winning 10 out of their next. 10 out
of their next 11.
They're winning their next. Yeah, it's just not an ideal start for them. I think there's a lot of good teams in the Mountain West actually. So Boise under 8.5. I'm not feeling them at all. I'll just stay in the Mountain West for this one, which I was kind of going to save to the end because I think it's my favorite pick. It's my favorite G5 one. I read up on this team. I got a little TCU vibes from last year in terms of this team. They're like probably 6th in their conference in terms of odds. But you look at the team, and the makeup of the team is really nice. Wyoming at 5.5. There's a 5.5 on FanDuel. There's a 6.5 on DraftKings. I actually bet over on all of it. I bet 6.5, 6, and 5.5. I also took them 12-1 to win the Mountain West. I think this is a huge improvement team from last year. So this is a team where their defense is one of the best G5 defenses in the country. It's by far the best defense in the Mountain West. They're going to be able to stop teams. It's a real reason why I think they have a shot to keep things interesting against Texas Tech. This is a defense that returns basically everybody. The defensive line is great. The secondary is great. They're going to get a ton of great stops when they play these high-powered offensive teams. Offensively, offense wasn't that great. You have another year with your quarterback. He's a senior, another year of the offense. They just need him to be average, and I think he can. It sounds like he had a really good spring. He's just taking steps to get more accurate and basically become an average quarterback. Running back transfer from Northern Illinois. They love their running back room. They've got 3 guys that can carry the rock. Offensive line is one of the best in the conference. Their tight ends are really good. And it's a run-first team. So they're just going to say, primarily we're going to run it. Great running back, great offensive line. Chew the clock. The defense will get stops. Everything about that makes sense to me. I forgot to even mention that they had a great pass rush last year. Their best pass rusher missed the whole season with injury. He comes back. Like, they have all the makings of a team that's going to be stout defensively. And then the schedule is really pretty fair. Texas Tech and Texas are non-conference games, which are probably both losses, but that's fine because you are a projected favorite in around 8 games, and there's 2 more where you're small underdogs to Air Force and Boise. Nevada and Hawaii and New Mexico, these are all really bad teams. Portland State, they're going to win a lot of these gimme games. So I think they don't even play San Jose State or San Diego State. The schedule works out perfectly. The makeup of the team is great. It's a coach who's been there for a decade. So it's like a sturdy foundation. A lot of the feelings I felt about TCU last year, despite the coach, obviously the coach was new, but a lot of the same feelings. So I love Wyoming. I legitimately, I think that they will be in the Mountain West Championship game. I love them. It helps that Boise, who's the favorite in the conference, I think will be kind of on a bad year. So give me Wyoming. I think they can win 8 or 9 games probably. And I bet them plus 14 against Texas Tech week 1. I think that they can challenge. So that's a lot of Wyoming rambling. But that's Wyoming. I love it. I think that they have all the makings. So yeah. Give me another one. What's another one that you like?
Memphis. I think Memphis is another team that we're both on. I like Memphis a lot this year. I think they're going to have another. I think it's going to be kind of like throwing back to those like Paxton Lynch kind of high-powered offense days, and I like Memphis a lot. I think they're a solid pick.
Yeah, they're at, I think, 8 or 8.5 now. I got them at 7.5. I think even getting them at 8 is good too. It's a Memphis team that usually scores a lot of points, and they return a veteran quarterback and 88% of their offensive production. I mean, that's you got my attention there. The defense was quietly a little good last year. They were top 50 in a lot of categories. The big thing for me is they lost 4 one-possession games last year. Out of all their one-possession games, they went 0-4. I think
the
they lost
anti-Texas Tech.
Do what?
The anti-Texas Tech.
The anti-Texas Tech, yeah, and the anti-TCU, really. I mean, this was a team that if they got in close games, it was wraps. So there's some positive regression coming there. They have 5 easy wins. They have, 6 coin flip games where 4 of those are at home against like Boise. I think they're going under. SMU, Tulane, all very winnable games. So that's a team I think I could really see them doing quite well. Also, I love an over 8. I would play an over 8 there too if you get it.
Yep.
We both like the Roadrunners. Meet.
Yes. There's one more after them too. I was thinking about. We need to talk about South Florida. Yes, UTSA as well.
Yeah, South Florida for sure. UTSA also at 7.5. This is the team like I bet them because they move up from Conference USA to the American. They're plus 450 to win the American. I went ahead and grabbed that. They're one of the favorites. This is going to be one of those cases of a team moving up to a better conference and still, I think, kicking ass really the whole time because they return basically everyone important. Frank Harris is one of the best quarterbacks at that level. He's a stud. He's been there forever. They lost Akari Franklin, who was their best skill position guy, wide receiver to Ole Miss. But even after that, they still have really good tight ends and wide receivers to catch the ball. So defensively, they should be fine. I think they return a lot of their top tacklers, but Jeff Traylor's their head coach, a guy who's been there for a while. I really like him. In terms of a culture builder, he's done such a great job.
This is a team too that I'm seeing when you talk about UTSA and the hype surrounding them. This is a team that I'm seeing over 7.5. I got them at minus 130, and the odds are now juiced to minus 200. Like this is a team, and that 7.5 hasn't moved. So this is clearly a team that people are starting to catch on to.
Yeah, I think that they're going to have a big year. I really expect to see them in the American Conference Championship game, and they've got 6 like easy wins, all games that come at home. The question is going to be the kind of the coin flip games, which they play on the road. They play Houston week 1. That's a big one for the win total, and I do like UTSA in that spot because I just don't think Houston is going to be kind of with it this season. I like UTSA in that spot. Then you get like Temple and Florida Atlantic and all that on the road. You got to win 2 of those games, which I think is very doable. But overall, I love the coach. I love the energy. I love the experience and the production that the team comes back with. So big year. Also, I think we mentioned at one point or another, they play Tennessee. I want to say week 3 or week 4. Watch out. Just watch out. I'm probably going to be playing UTSA in that game too. I think that's going to be a great pick. I'm excited for that.
Trust me, I would love that. I would love that more than anything.
I think that's the move. And then South Florida, this is a different one because usually we take these teams that are over, like we've been at 7.5 or we've been at 8.5, whatever. South Florida is at 4. This is not a team. I'm not telling you this team's going to, make a New Year's Six Bowl or anything.
I like the value here, though. Yeah, I think this
the value is good, and you need him to win 4 games, 5 games. I think it's doable because, Alex Golish comes in from Tennessee. He's going to run the Tennessee, the high-powered system. They've got a lot of good skill positions. Like Jerry Bohannon's their quarterback, and the other thing is like
you're not talking about the funniest part of their entire season, by the way. The fact that they host Alabama week 3.
They do.
I don't know how they work that out, but.
It's not. Yeah, it is a weird one. I think they go to Alabama next year, which is, that's going to be really strange to watch. They almost beat Florida. Was it last year? I think a team that kind of is sneaky, but I'm not saying like when I said Jared Bohannon is their quarterback, I'm not saying again that this team's going to win the conference, but I think Jared Bohannon with the skill position guys he has is good enough to win 4 or 5 games, and they're going to be. Favorites and winnable games in 6 games, probably like Florida A&M and UAB and Rice and Charlotte. I mean, those are 4 wins right there. They can beat Temple.
They can win at UConn.
They can win at UConn. They play Western Kentucky week 1. That's a spread that's dropped from, I want to say, 14 to 11.5 in favor of USF. They can challenge that one too.
They actually play at UTSA. That wasn't even on purpose. I forgot about that.
They play at UTSA. I'm going to go ahead and chalk that one up for UTSA, but that's okay.
Yeah,
There's a ton of other winnable games. Plus, it's going to be fun to have a bad team. Like, let's just root for a bad team that we need.
Yeah.
But I really do think there's good value in that pick. USF could have can they make a bowl even? Probably not, but they can win 5 games. So
I think they could, and you don't even need them to win 5. You need them to win 4.
Right.
So that's the beauty of it. I think that's everybody that I have. I have all my picks in a spreadsheet, so I'm going to be keeping up with these. I have them on my Action account. You can follow me at Actions. It's Can't Guard Jake. It's the same thing. But I'm looking through here. I don't see any G5. We got a lot of good ones though. I mean, we have plenty.
Yeah, there's a lot of good ones. It'll be fun to kind of hitch your wagons to these teams and keep up with them the whole year. Like, I'm going to be watching. I'm fine to stay up late and turn to CBS Sports and watch Wyoming play, like, San Jose State or something random. Yeah, that'll be fun. And then we'll obviously touch on the week 0 stuff later in another pod. So overall, I really do feel good about these win totals though, and it's a little bit more than I was expecting to bet in terms of the number of win totals, but it is what
I have a lot. I think I'm pushing up on 30. I have a lot, but hey,
I'm in the mid.
Look, that's every conference and the G5. Like, it's not that many teams. There's 120 something of those.
Yeah, I think we're good though.
And we're, like I said, guys, if you made it this far, thank you for tuning in. We are going to do our week 0 picks. I don't have many. I think the only thing I have right now is Vanderbilt, but we always come away with a few. There's not too many games too, so we can kind of give each game a lot of attention. And like I said, we'll be here for every week. I think Chase and Alex are going to join us for week 0. They always do. They always join us for the first couple of weeks. We'll see if they stick around, but we'll be around all season making our picks. Let's see. I think that's all we got. But yeah, we'll be on later. We're going to be talking about our week 0 picks. Thanks for joining us. Hop in on there, make some money with us. Like I said, we've been killing it over the past few years. I don't expect this year to be any exception. So we appreciate y'all tuning in. Y'all take it easy.